Thank you, audience, for joining me for another episode of Elisha Space. I am so excited today because I have Elliott Justin with us today. He is here to discuss with us the connection of, especially for men's, sexual health affecting the connection with your actual physical cardiovascular system. He is the founder of FirmTech and an emergency physician who is devoted to advancing sexual health technology. And I'm really excited to have this conversation with you. I think it's very much needed and it's going to help a lot of people. So thank you for joining us on the show.
And that's the opportunity. And I have to say, correct you about one thing, which is just as important in women too. We just don't know about it.
Yes.
We can get that later on. Postmenopausal women have all the same problems that men do with their heart, with diabetes. And the impact on their sexual health is probably even more dramatic for cardiovascular disease than it is upon men because they also have less testosterone.
That's true. That's true. And thank you for the correction. You guys are working on something for women too. Is that correct?
We have a device called Critique. It will be researched this spring, and it should be commercially available next year. And I'm really hoping it's not just a game changer. Let's call it a life changer for women, because women need objective, actionable personal data about their sexual health. And right now, hey, go get a vibrator or take female hormones. What is objectively going on? And that's going to be really profoundly valuable.
Right. And women too, we blame everything on menopause.
Menopause and on men.
That combination, right? Exactly.
The combination is profound, but it's really important.
Okay, it's fine.
I think it's just a question of 2 or 3 years before testosterone replacement therapy becomes a standard for postmenopausal women. It took most of my career for hormone replacement therapy, progesterone, to become a standard of care for postmenopausal women. But there's always been that missing hormone, which is testosterone, and the effects in women are quite dramatic.
Could you share with us a little bit about who you are, because I'm sure the audience, and what inspired your journey because this is a journey from emergency medicine to sexual health innovation. Hi there, friends. Elisha here. You and I, we're on this winding road of life together, and I'd like to share a little piece of my soul with you, something to bring us closer on this shared journey of growth and self-discovery. The Mental Health Handbook is a piece of that shared journey, and it's not just a collection of my thoughts. It's a sanctuary where we can learn resilience and arm ourselves with self-care tools for those days that just feel too heavy. Consider it a conversation between friends, one that I hope brings you comfort and strength. And for those times when we seek quiet reflection, I've crafted the Mindfulness Coloring Book for Adults. Picture us side by side, lost in the simple joy of coloring, allowing the stillness and the words of peace and forgiveness to wrap around us like warm embrace. I want these books to be part of your journey, to walk with you and guide you towards a fuller, more peaceful heart. It's a path we travel together, one filled with understanding, care, and the gentle reminder that you're not alone. Both the Mental Health Handbook and Mindfulness Coloring Book for Adults are waiting for you on Amazon and at the Restoring You Christian Counseling website. These spaces are more than just stories. They're gateways to the experiences we can share and grow from. Let's take this step to nurture our mental and spiritual health together. Find the books, and let's start unfolding the beauty and strength that lies within us, page by page, color by color. Thank you for letting me part of your journey. Here's to the discoveries we'll make and the peace we'll find together.
Sure. As an emergency medicine doctor, I'm not going to tell any woman something she doesn't really know. A man usually only goes the last 2 erections. Short of a heart attack or a stroke, there's no emergency that concerns a man as much as a consistently limp penis. So it got directly involved in this I was working, I live in Montana and I ride horses. And I, at one point, broke 6 ribs and 6 vertebrae. Fortunately, my spinal cord was not damaged, but it got me interested in what's been done to rehabilitate sexual function in men and women who have spinal cord damage. And there were several papers in the medical literature claiming that they were able to neuromodulate it. So what is neuromodulation? Most people are familiar with cardiac pacemaking. Place an electrode in the heart, we have a battery pack on clavicle, and we pace the heart. Imagine being able to pace human sexuality. That would be profoundly valuable, not just people that have spinal cord injuries, but profoundly valuable in an aging population for people to enjoy a long lifetime of lovemaking. So there these papers are claiming that they planted an electrode by the pudendal and cavernous nerve, everyone's two favorite nerves that no one knows about, that come out from underneath the pubic bone into the clitoris or into the penis. And they're the nerves that are essential for arousal and orgasm. So I tried it out on 2 rams, male sheep, and working with a veterinary surgeon in California, and we got a weak erection, but we also got defecation, urination. So it wasn't exactly bedroom friendly. Raising money and going down to Brazil or Nigeria and testing it out on 25 men with significant erectile dysfunction. I had a friend of mine, a urologist, implanting electrodes in my body, and I felt nothing. And I actually don't think we know arousal and orgasms work in men and women. We think we do. We think it has to do with these nerves, but I suspect it's more complicated than that. Anyway, I called it Project O for obvious reasons. And years later, a urology professor at the University of Utah heard about this and said he contacted me and said he wanted to count the number of nocturnal erections that men have. And my response was, why the fuck do we care? We know about morning wood. We laugh about morning wood. But why do we care about nocturnal erections? And he explained to me, this is about 4 years ago, that they are a leading indicator of man's cardiovascular health. And that took me aback. Because in medicine, there aren't a lot of leading indicators. In medicine, we treat associations. High blood pressure is associated with stroke. But if your blood pressure goes from 140 to 160, it's not predicting that you're going to have a stroke. Elevated lip proteins associated with atherosclerosis and heart attack, but it's not predicting. But a leading indicator, what's being predicted here with the penis by monitoring nocturnal erections? Well, if that number goes down by 50%, the man has an up to 50% chance of having a cardiovascular problem in the next 2 to 3 years. So this will become a way of identifying problems by tracking nocturnal erections before they become a more visible problem. That excited me, but I suggested to this doctor, let's not measure nocturnal erections alone. Let's measure all erections. What do men care more about? What's happening on the night shift while they're sleeping? What's happening while they're trying to have relations with a partner? What we've done is embedded sensors, and I don't like to call it a cock ring because that kind of, you think about cock ring, people think a sex toy, you buy it as a novelty online or a sex toy store. I call it an erection ring. We put sensors into an erection ring, and with these sensors, pressure gauge and strain gauge, we can now measure how many nocturnal erections a man has while he's sleeping, how long they last, and how hard they are. And a healthy man, say 50 years old, should have 3+ nocturnal erections. He should have 70 to 90 minutes of nocturnal erection time. Yeah, he's in that time. And they should be about 5 to 6 in firmness on a 1 to 10 scale. So we now have documented, sold about 4,000 tech devices, we call it the tech ring, and we now documented, as of a couple of days ago, 136,000 erections, close to 4,000 men. This is the world's largest data set of men's sexual health that has ever been done before. And with this data, a man who uses our technology can look at his data and say, oh, how do I compare to 1,000 men within 5 years of my age or 10 years of my age? The device can also be worn during sex.
It can also a way to measure, maybe I need to make a visit to the cardiologist.
We've had 3 men get cardiac catheterizations as a result of our technology because they contacted us.
You probably saved their lives. But go ahead.
One guy had 0 nocturnal erections, and he was blaming his sexual problems on his wife. You're getting old. You're getting old. You're ugly. Blah blah blah. Whatever they say.
Right.
Well, she bought him the device, and he had almost 0. He had very little nocturnal erection activity. She divorced him, by the way. A phone call I received, but he ended up getting cardiac catheterization. To your point, probably had his life saved by it for at least a while. And we've had the other men, typical that the women buy the device for their men because men are avoiding problems. This guy had diabetes, was poorly controlled. And when he first got the device, he was having 2 erections per night, and they were weak. And then it went to 1. Then he ended up getting cardiac catheterization because his penis essentially was telling him something. The urologists call the penis the canary in the coal mine of cardiovascular disease. And not a lot of people know that.
Have the cardiologists been surprised at the connection also? I don't think there's a lot of data out there.
There's not a lot.
Developing.
There's not a lot of data. It is developing. The call before you, I was speaking to an internist who's focused on cardiovascular disease in Chicago about how can he utilize this device with his patients. And that was He's a very progressive-minded guy. There's a test right now called the CT calcium score that in the United States is becoming the standard test for people, men and women over the age of 45 or 50, to assess their cardiovascular health. It's not in every healthcare plan. If you have Medicare, you have to ask for it. They don't give it to you. You should ask for it. Every man and woman over 45, 50, if you listen to this podcast, should ask for a CT calcium score. Because even if it's normal, you've now established a comparative baseline. Getting a normal test is valuable. In medicine, people often think, I wasted my time. The X-ray was normal. The blood test was normal. You're getting peace of mind. I know for myself and for many of my patients and our customers that to have good erectile fitness numbers is reassuring. I'm above average. That's great. It's great to be able to say I have the sexual and likely the cardiovascular health of a man 15, 20 years younger than me. Now, there are 2 studies involving the CT calcium score that are incorporating our nocturnal erectness fitness parameters. They're going to do both. Men are going to get a CT calcium score and utilize our device at least 6 times. And then we're going to compare the data. It's likely that they're going to be complementary. One study started at Baylor, and the other study is in Madrid. I don't know the status of that one, but certainly by this time, a year from now, Elisha, we'll have data. Comparing both blood markers, CT calcium score, and the nocturnal erection parameters, duration number, together to see how valuable our device can be for signaling cardiovascular disease to people who wouldn't know they have it.
What sparked your passion to study this?
I've been a serial medical entrepreneur, and I've have the confidence that comes from I've had successful companies, I've had some failures. I have a sense of what could be done. The urologist who brought this idea to me, he'd been working on it for 8 or 9 years, unsuccessfully, aware of how important sexual health is for people. I'll give you 3 examples. Men who have sex 4 times a month decrease their risk of prostate cancer by about 20%. Men who have sex over the age of 70 have sex 3 times a week versus men over the age of 70 have sex less than 3 times per month, decrease their risk of sudden cardiac death by 50%. Well, that's a big number.
That's a big number.
We know that, and it's probably true for men too, we know that women who have an orgasm every day, from age 35 to 45, the study, decrease their cortisol up to 50%. That's the stress hormone. We know that, look at this, the social ramifications. We're very concerned in the United States and around the world about sustaining the family. We know that couples who are happily married or happily in a committed relationship, and sex is an important part of that, they live longer, they're healthier, and their kids are less likely to do drugs, do alcohol, drop out of high school. Kids end up having a higher income. I'm talking about children of a sustained relationship, but there's been no divorce, usually
and they
marriage.
also get to witness what a healthy relationship looks
Yes.
like.
So
that intimacy is so important within a relationship.
It's one of the glues. I mean, I think it's one of the 3 things that our relationship stands on.
Right.
But we know the couples that have sex, I forget the numbers, 3 or 4 times a week versus couples that have sex less than 3 times a month, they have half the separation rate. Well, think about the impact. People would follow that. About the impact, just in terms of decreased Medicaid dollars or whatever, decreased juvenile crime. And if I look around, my kids are all grown right now. I have 3 kids. But if I look around at their peers, the kids who were their friends when they were younger, it wasn't the success of those kids didn't have to do so much with the fact of whether their parents were rich. It had to really do with the parents had a successful marriage. A successful marriage, it's striking to me, probably to you too, certainly you've observed this as well. It's striking. They end up having a good relationship and they have less problems. And it's really, I mean, at one point we moved to Princeton, New Jersey. We live in a farm community, and then we moved to Princeton, New Jersey for the schools. But it's a really rich community. The kids are so effing spoiled, and often the parents had bad relationships, were leading separate lives, or the kids were being raised by au pairs, I'll put it this way: none of my friends. I went to high school in New York City. None of my friends committed suicide or overdosed on drugs or were involved or got arrested for serious crimes. And yet my son, my oldest son, he has 3 friends who are dead now because their parents are all divorced. Sex is really important for people's happiness. I think that a good marriage has 3 components. And I think happy sex life is one of them. The other is shared values. And the third is a common project. That project could be just having a family, or it could be a business. But those are the three things that are essential, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And that sounds like that's how you define sexual wellness in general. Like you look at it holistically. Is that correct?
I think that sex. I think that people need to plan for pleasure in their
Right.
relationships. The data that we're giving people is really valuable. The rings themselves address the number one problem that men have. Most men do not have dysfunction. I hate that word. The word is shaming for men. They don't want to talk about it. They go online, they get pills that could just be masking a problem or delaying the diagnosis of a problem.
I'm so glad I
Uh,
got you on this show to talk about this because there's so much misinformation and it's such a taboo topic. So go ahead. I didn't mean
yeah,
to interrupt.
the pills put more blood into the penis, but they don't
Right.
produce erections. It's like, hey, Elisha, I'm not popping a pill right now and getting hard. I'm talking to you. That's not how they work. You're a lady, but they know how the pills work. They require stimulation, and then really not even that successful. They're good for the placebo effect for the brain, but if you go back to the original Pfizer application to the FDA, there were 7 studies, and 2 of them showed no more benefit from the placebo. The only study that showed dramatic benefit, 70%, was in men with prostate surgery, and that's not most men. And the other studies showed about 35 to 40% benefit. Placebo effect is 30% benefit. So what our data shows, this data set that we have, 136,000 erections, it shows that most men's problem is not getting it up or keeping it up. It's they think they get an erection, they lose it. And this is normal. All our veins get older as we get blood leaves the penis faster than it did when a guy's a teenager. The answer, if a man is getting an erection, is a mechanical one. The pills are nice, they put a little blood in, but the answer is mechanical. It's an erection ring. And the problem with most erection rings is they have these hard silicone rings. They pinch, they're uncomfortable. They have never caught on, especially among straight men, and they never will because one, you have to have an erection first, so you can't put it on discreetly. 2, you want it off after 15, 20 minutes because of how tight they are. Data shows clearly that most men's problem is not that they're not pumping enough blood from their heart or their arteries are too narrow. Most men's problems is they get an erection, they lose it. And they could lose an erection for a whole variety of reasons. Could be they're worried about paying the mortgage. It could be that
Right.
they're cheating on their wife, or their wife's cheating on them, or it could be babies crying in the next room, or it could be they're taking a medication like an antihypertensive or antidepressant that we doctors prescribe that makes it harder for them to keep that erection up. They've had too much to drink, or they smoked it or whatever. But once they get hard, a ring will help to sustain that erection. And it's time for men to start thinking about rings the way women think about vibrators. In my lifetime, vibrators went from literally from the closet to the mainstream. My mother's vibrators tucked away in the back of the closet. Of course, we
Mm-hmm.
kids still found it anyway, but didn't know what it was. If a man wants to optimize his performance, assuming he can get it up, put a ring on it, a ring, and or take a pill, whether you have ED or don't have ED. This is what the data clearly shows, and ideally, this will be that's mainstream, and men will no longer see erection rings as something to be embarrassed about or be ashamed of. No, you're optimizing your performance. Heck, I don't go for a run without putting shoes on. I don't regard my shoes as a crutch. I regard my running shoes as an optimizer for my performance. And men need to start thinking about erection rings the same way.
And I like the example you used about shoes because I'm not just going to wear flip flops to go running in. I'm going to wear running shoes that can help my feet, so I can have,
Yeah,
so that I can make it.
there's something more. A ring is a non-pharmacological solution, although both I recommend guys use both. But the PD5 medications, the pills, we don't even right dose them. So if you have data, if you're not tech ring, you can say, one, do I really need this? Because if a guy's having 3 or 4 nocturnal erections at night and he thinks he's dependent upon Viagra, Cialis, the problem is up here in his head. There's something else going on with him in his relationships, and taking a pill is just masking that. Similarly, if a guy has only 2 nocturnal erections per night and has some cardiovascular disease, what's the right dose? Right now, what the doctors do is take this pill, come back in 3 months or 6 months, or the same thing going online. Well, I tried 5 of tadalafil. Maybe I'll take 10. I'll take 20. Hey, it says 20, but why don't I take 40 and see what happens? But when you have data, it's like having blood pressure go. When you have data, you can actually say, this is the right dose for me. You can say, I don't need it. So I know for myself, I take 5 milligrams of tadalafil Cialis every day. It's supposed to have some protective effect for heart disease and for the brain as you age. It does give me about another 10 to 12 minutes of nocturnal erection time, and that's probably healthy. Don't need it for sex. But if I had play around with it, because I have the data, If I take 10 milligrams of tadalafil or 20 milligrams of tadalafil, I don't get any more benefit. So I wouldn't know that without the data. The same thing applies to a lot of other things that are recommended for men, like testosterone therapy. How do you know the right dose? The doctors ask 3 questions. How's your energy? How's your sleep? How's your libido? Everyone would like a little more energy. Everyone wants to sleep more. Everyone sleep another hour. As far as libido goes, what does that word even mean to people? It means when I'm taking care of men or talking to couples, and we're talking about libido, I ask the question this way: how often a week are you initiating sex with yourself or with your partner or your wife? And what's your goal? Now, obviously, some guy cracks 30 times. You're not 10 years old. You're not 12 years old anymore. But quite often, you probably notice this in your practice too, there's a mismatch between the couples. It's not always the woman who's, well, I've got 3 men right now taking care of in the late 40s who, you look at them out from the outside, you think these are fit guys, but they have borderline low T. They have T's at my level. I'm 40 years old in these guys. But their wives are more interested in, well, their wives like them to initiate sex more, their husbands, that is, and also to be receptive to someone else taking initiative. Because men, if a man lacks confidence, he doesn't like push at all. It's one of those friction points in a relationship. People start to, especially men and women, if they enjoying sex is a problem, or pleasing someone else's problem, they'll just put it off and put it off. Eventually, the relationship starts to deteriorate as a consequence. So, with these men, I'll say, for example, I'm thinking about one guy I saw yesterday. He initiates sex once a week. His wife would like him to initiate sex 3 or 4 times a week. And now that we have him right dose on testosterone, he now is initiating sex twice a week. And the other change in his mind is he's now receptive. His confidence is restored by 2 things. One is testosterone, but also by the ring itself. Because now he knows that even if he's tired, once he gets an erection, he's going to stay aroused. And that's a game changer. The wife is quite happy with 100% improvement in his.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So it sounds like this is kind of like a smart ring.
Exactly.
Is it safe for him to use if it's a smart ring?
Yeah. Well, the radiation, there is Bluetooth radiation involved in the device, but it's off when it's on the body. So when a man wears the ring, whether for sex or overnight, stops the recording when he's done, and then turns it on again. That connects to Bluetooth when it's off the body, connects to Bluetooth to the cloud. The data can be analyzed. Okay. So it's safe. Safety of the ring.
Registered with the FDA and all the other things.
We have 136,000 documented erections. We also sell the non-tech version of the ring. We sold 20,000, probably more, like 21,000 by now, a non-tech version of the ring, basically just a really effective erection ring. And we haven't had anyone require a medication or a visit to a doctor as far as we're aware of. I'd say once or twice a week, I get some guys got chafing. He had sex right after manscaping or something like that. Nothing. The type of problems that we see are type of problems that women would laugh about. No woman's going to complain to a bra manufacturer, I took the bra off and it was a little bit too tight, left a mark on my body. Gee, right after I shaved, I got some irritation. Anyways, guys, the point is, we have had you would think with male hygiene by now, I would have had some guy or 10 guys with a massive yeast infection in their groin. And we haven't had any. And that really surprised me because I would have thought, you get yeast infection wearing a jock playing sports. So I would have thought by now we would have, but it hasn't happened.
Okay, good. I think this could be life-changing for a lot of men and women with this other piece that you're making as well. And I think it'll help shift from, because I worked out this function is that it's embarrassing, takes away that shame from making them feel more empowered and really knowing what the problem is. It's not them, it's something else going on with them, potentially.
It's part of the natural process of aging and it can be addressed. We don't, but when I started in medicine, 70s and 80s, women were still being described as frigid, anorgasmic, hysteric, cold. And that doesn't go on. It's hardly, it almost is gone totally. I can't remember the last time I heard a woman described as frigid because the feminists said, you can't do this to us anymore. These words are shameful and stigmatizing. And guys still get stuck with negativity. You don't have dysfunction. Yes, if you can't get it up, you have dysfunction. But if you get it up and you lose it, you don't have dysfunction, you got a problem. Let's use data and a good history to figure out what the problem is and use a ring to address the most common cause of the problem, which is blood is leaving the penis faster than it did when you were younger. And when I look back at this discovery, it's so obvious, Elisha. If you were 14 years old and I was years old, and you held my hand, I'd probably get a hard on for an hour. It doesn't happen to me my age. Men get older, I'm certain. And women observe it too. And the fact that no one realized what's really going on here, blood is leaving the penis. Let's put aside all the other factors, whether it's social or psychological or medication or alcohol. Put aside, something is happening here and it's physical. Every erection ends with blood leaving the penis. When you're 14 years old, a little stimulation, you stay hard for a long time. At our age, it doesn't happen. And all the guys do to prove it to himself is stay alone, no other variables, masturbate, get rock hard, get a timer, see how long your erection takes to go down, 25, 35 seconds. Do the same thing again, put a ring on ours, of course, but any ring will do. And that guy's going to stay hard with no stimulation for a couple of minutes. Well, what's that telling you? It's telling you that your problem is on the venous side of the circulation, and there's a mechanical fix, which is compression of superficial veins to the penis. Women don't.
With this device, it can also tell if there's something else going on.
If your heart, exactly. Yes.
Yes. I think this is going to save people's lives and fix a lot of people's problems in the bedroom too. That I think it's going to save a lot of people's lives, because I think there's a lot of this is true for women too. But I think there's a lot of things that are hidden. There's a connection, because I'm big on mind-body connection, right? So I think there's a lot of things that are hidden that are masked, like what you talked about. And I think this is a good way to unmask it, and it's unmasked in a way that is dignified.
It's changed my marriage. We make love longer than before. We used to make love 10 to 15 minutes. So we're older people, so this rushed orgasm. What position? Sofa, bed, vibrator, rush, because we don't. My wife is 71, married a long time, happily married, but we're older. And this rush to get to do it. And now she knows that I'm going to be hard with the ring for 30, 40, 55 minutes, much longer than she wants me to be. So, and that's, for her, that is for her to have confidence in me that she doesn't have to really have to be paying much attention to. I need some stimulation, but only that, so that while she's thinking about her own pleasure, she doesn't have to be thinking about me. And the same thing is true for me. I am more confident. In the past, I might have put off lovemaking some nights because I'm tired or I got other things in my mind, but I don't feel that way anymore because I know once I'm turned on, I'm going to stay turned on. And it's more romantic. Young people today don't use the word romance. They think more transactionally. But I'll give you an example of the benefit of this. The ring keeps me hard for almost 4 minutes after I climax. I'm an old guy. I don't have premature ejaculation. I don't keep on thrusting in order to satisfy a partner. We do have men who buy our rings for that purpose. What does my wife like about that? She likes the fact, because if I'm still hard, comfortably hard, I'm more romantic. It isn't, hey, we're done. What's up? The male mindset. You've probably experienced it. Male mindset is come and done. The guy with an erection thinks very differently than the guy without erections. We spend more time horizontally connected, to your point earlier about talking about connection, intimate and romantic, than we did before. And that's been great. And I hear about that from customers and patients every week.
Audience, so I'm in the process of doing an affiliate program with FirmTech, with Elliott's company. And I will have some commercials out there to promoting what he's doing. If you went, and you'll get a little bit of a discount as far as that's concerned. If someone was to reach out to you and learn more about what you do in general, because I get a lot of people in the healing communities that listen to my show too. How can they reach out to you? What's a good way to connect with you?
Go to myfirmtech.com, myfirmtech.com. If you want to reach out to me personally, you can find me at Elliott, Elliott, myfirmtech.com. I try to spend 4 hours, 5 hours a week communicating with people about their questions about sexual health, not even about things. It's about people are not getting satisfactory answers from their doctors. They don't trust their doctors about this issue, and they want to run it past someone else. You can reach out to me personally at Elliott, Elliott, myfirmtech.com. You can find out, go to the website, and you can click on the science section and read about the science behind what we're doing.
Okay. And audience, this is part of a journey as well, is your sexual health, especially when it's in a relationship, when it's with your partner. It's extremely important as Elliott was saying, it's extremely important that you have a healthy, vibrant, exciting sex life. And sometimes we can think that something is one thing when it's actually something else. And FirmTech is an organization that helps people to see the connection of what that something else would be. So I want to thank you for joining us on the show, Elliott. You're invited to
Thank
come
you.
anytime, whenever that other device that you're working on for women, if you want to come back on the show and we can talk
Love to.
about that, you could do that as well. So audience, someone once said, and I think that this is scripture too, in all of your getting, get understanding. And this is a way for you to get understanding of what could be underneath of what someone could be dealing with, or someone that you love or care about could be dealing with as well. So as you continue to move forward in your healing journey, we wish you well, take care, and until the next show. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks so much.